It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. The program is Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. So glad you tuned in. Now, today's conversation starts off with a conversation a lot of us have had, whether it's in our personal lives, at work, when we think about just how challenging it is to live in Nigeria, whether it's the price of dollar that causes it, or it's the fact that things are just increasing. That's the price of goods and services. We're talking about inflation. And I'm sure you've had this conversation with somebody saying, wait a minute, I've gone to the market today and last week I was able to spend more of my money. So, I mean, it's something that affects every single one of us. In fact, the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, says Nigeria's inflation rate increased to 17.71% on year-on-year basis in May. So there's inflation. The money that we have doesn't get us as much as it used to get us. In fact, if you go on Twitter, you have people tweeting saying that the value of their monies in 2015 is about half. So if you are a millionaire in 2015 and you have $1 million in your account in 2022, you're not a millionaire. So to discuss this issue of inflation and making sense of the rising cost of goods and services in Nigeria, I'm joined by financial analyst. We have Mr. Adeola Ogunbodede. Adeola, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you.
So tell me, have you been affected by inflation in any way?
Sure, in very many ways.
So cost of food, cost of living, even getting to the studio, did you have to pay more?
Of course, of course. By the time because my car actually had EU, so I decided to say, okay, let me employ one of the riding apps, and I put in. And basically what should have cost me about 1,500 was actually 3,500.
Wow.
The boat, actually it's boats.
So you're saying that it's almost like a 200% rise in how much you're using to transport yourself.
Yes.
I know if we look at the inflation, I mean, reports show a direct impact on food supply from inflation and at 50 months high. What does this say about the economy of Nigeria?
Actually, I don't want to use a language that most economists are using now. Is actually the economy is becoming a trash in a way, because whatever analysis that anybody could actually put on the table it has become actually a trash, because the way it is run, the way it is being followed, to be candid, it is not what we should actually have as an economy. So
this is not expected, because some would say that, okay, we're coming out of the post-lockdown, we're looking at the effects of COVID-19, but you're saying that this shouldn't be.
Since 2015, well, I just want to appreciate some people who are working within this government to make sure things get better, and I want to give kudos to the CBN. CBN has been working assiduously to make sure things get better, but the necessary fiscal authorities have not been supporting CBN. And as a result of that, the economic platform that we actually should have in this economy, in this country, we are not having. And as a result of that, that's what we are having today. And that's why the World Bank is concerned. And they are saying the way things are going, even what they postulated, we have gone beyond it. The economy of Nigeria is going to a precipice.
So the average Nigerian is getting poorer? Not
average, because basically, well, let me just put it, because basically if you want to say average, yeah, you are correct. Because as of today, we have 98 million people under the poverty line. And that means with Nigeria being 200 million, so virtually plus or minus, it's average. Half of the country, we are already poor and living below the poverty line.
Now let's look at the statistics, 17.71%. Is this going to increase? And is 17.71% reflective of the reality?
One, is it going to increase? Yes. Two, is it reflective of the reality? No, because that's the reason why people are talking. Looking at the whole analysis and balance, we look at things. We buy things from the market. We buy things even in supermarkets. We buy things even from the farm. Because basically, when you are trying to look at CPI, we look at that is the Consumer Price Index. It actually considers the price of foodstuffs or foods across But when you're looking at inflation as it is, it's not only CPI, it goes beyond that range because it has to do with goods and services and every other thing, price of things and services. But here we have, I want to say actually, let me just relax at that end. As it is, no, it's not the reality. And that's why many people are actually talking. Because me, I do go to grocery stores to buy things for the family. My wife buys the normal things for us to eat. But when I have to get provisions, I do assist her to go to provision shop. Most times, things I used to buy, because I was telling the lady by the counter the other time, I think 2 days or 3 days ago, I said things I used to buy at this certain amount, my bags will be full. Now I am spending 5 times of that amount. And the bag, the same bag, is not full.
And I know so many Nigerians watching can agree with you that they go to the supermarket or the stores or even the market and the prices of goods have all gone up. In fact, some people will say that if you can eat sardines now, that you're rich. So let's look at the ways that Nigerians can cope with this inflation if you're saying that this is likely to increase.
Basically, as it is, I will say that how do we cope with it? Already we are coping with it. And that's why some of us are still living. Because in some other countries, if things have gone this way, they will have gone out to protest, to call on government. Even there was even a time in this country when we were trying to talk about austerity measure, to be able to see how we can
so one way or the other was surviving.
We are already surviving because basically transport fare, everything has gone up, but we still find a way to run.
I guess the popular musician said, suffering and smiling. We do have another financial analyst joining us virtually, Dotu Mabinori. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly well.
Okay, so we'd like to have you weigh in on inflation. Do you agree that it shouldn't be as it is? And if yes, why do we keep seeing this?
I think, as we all know, the last inflation published by Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is 17.71%. So it's not just that figure alone that's our problem here. The major problem is addition of inflation and unemployment. Unemployment, as we also have, stands at 33.3%. By the time you add the two of them together, you have something around 51.04%. That is where the problem lies. And by the time addition of inflation and unemployment gives what they call mystery index in economics. So it means that about half of Nigerian population is miserable. And that's to corroborate what Mr. Adiola in the studio said the other time, that about 98 million Nigerians are below the poverty line. Being below poverty line means you are unable to spend up to $2 a day. You are spending below, or you are surviving below $2 a day. And you having that simply means that you are suffering what they call abject poverty. So by the time you add inflation and unemployment together, you have 51.04%, which means more than half of Nigerians are miserable. So that's why you see people on the road fighting because their car is bad, because everybody has a good.
And when you say Nigerians are miserable, just like I posed the question, how are Nigerians coping? What coping mechanisms are there? Or should we be expecting from the government if we're looking at the twin problems of inflation and unemployment?
Okay, I think this is where Nigerians are more or less like the best set of citizens you can have in the world. There are so many things that we can tolerate that others cannot tolerate. We saw the other time that people took to streets in the United Kingdom because the inflation rate just rose to 9.01. I mean 9.1%, 9.1, and we are talking about almost twice the digits here, and yet we are still coping. So Nigerians, to a very large extent, what they call coping mechanism. It is not good. We are not saying that is because even inflation is what they call adverse effect on health. And what do I mean by that? In the 90s or in the 80s, where some of us were growing up, there's this cola drink that when you open it and you use the straw and shook the straw inside, almost half of the cola, the drink we get out of the bottle. But these days, and then even back then, the drink was very, very deep, or very, black. But these days, you can almost see through it. If you like, shake the.
So you're saying that we're seeing production values being compromised, and that takes me to my next question, and this is to Adiola, and that's about businesses. How are businesses supposed to cope? Are they supposed to keep increasing their prices, or like he alluded to, maybe reducing the quality, reducing the quantity, and shortchanging the consumer?
Basically, as we've seen it already, when we are trying to look at the dips, because for a consumer to be able to buy things from a business, you'll try to look at his disposable income. And that is the income that he has that he could spend, not the one that he receives, the one that is available to him to spend. So you look at it. If an organization decides to say unilaterally that they want to increase their products, the prices or whatever, they try to look at the different aspects of it. Is it a good that's a luxury good? Is it a good that is elastic or inelastic in nature? Because by the time they tend to increase, the tendency of the people, because of their disposable income, to either react or retract from it comes into being. So when that kind of goods actually come in, when you understand the kind of good you supply, sorry because of our time, when you understand the kind of goods you supply, then invariably you now come over to relate to the market. If it's an elastic good, good. That means people will withdraw. If it's inelastic, you can increase your price. But in a situation whereby if you increase, people will react, then they tend to reduce the quantity. And that's what we have seen in some of the products in Nigeria today. Almost all. There was a time Titus was 4 fishy. We have 4 fish inside. But now someone said you will even buy Titus, you won't even see a fish inside.
It's interesting that you pick up on the same sardine that I brought up. I'm going to move to Dotu, and this is looking at what government should be doing to stimulate the economy. How can we have policies that encourage businesses to thrive and not spend so much on their cost of production?
Okay, this is where the nexus between fiscal sector and monetary sector need to come to being. When I say fiscal sector, we mean on the part of government, which is being headed by Minister of Finance. They should have what they call expansionary fiscal policy, not the one that also fuel inflation. They should, to a very large extent, maybe go into cost of production by giving companies subventions, by giving them tax holidays, by subsidizing their raw materials such a way that the cost of goods and services will come down. Then on the part of the monetary sector being headed by the CBN also need to come in maybe by reducing interest rates, making funds available for firms, and reducing the cost of borrowing. By the time cost of borrowing comes down, because that's another cost of inflation. When cost of production increases, it is called cost push inflation. CBN needs to reduce that cost by possibly reducing the cost of borrowing on the part of business owners, so that what they are at the end of the day, the access to cheap funds will mean cost of production will keep coming down. Then ultimately, price of goods and services will also come down. Then exchange days is also another part that CBN needs to come in. There are some raw materials, there are some companies that their raw materials are imported. There's no way they want to do that, to bring their raw materials in. So imagine raw materials that are being bought at maybe 200, are being exchanged at 200 naira to $1. And as we speak right now, the last time we checked, exchange is about 605 naira to $1. So it means the cost of bringing in their raw materials is now ×3. That will lead to what they call a pass-through effect. They will pass the effect of that exchange rate to consumers, and by doing that, cost of goods and services will come in. So one of the ways of combating inflation as we speak right now is a good marriage, a good nexus between the fiscal sector and then the monetary sector, by both of them embarking on the same policy direction, maybe expansionary fiscal policy or contractionary fiscal policy.
And this ties into the point Adiola raised at the beginning of the show. And you can't take away the issue of the dollar. There's the availability of the dollar at the official rate. There's the need for people to go to the back market to source these dollars. When we speak about the dollars, is the CBN doing enough? I mean, you did applaud them. And the other question, I think it's to the two of you, is the fact that Nigerians are of the opinion that they should be saving in dollars and no longer naira, because it seems like they wake up every day and the value of the naira goes down and the value of the dollar goes up.
Yeah, basically, I will start with the second one. That is already in place. I've seen people who have changed their naira to dollar to keep. And I think that was why the CBN at the time actually said, if you keep your money in the account in dollar, If you bring it in by cash, you collect it by cash. And that means by that time you're going to collect. You understand the nitty-gritty. So we want to make sure that you are not encouraged to go there and be saving. Because when you do, you can't transfer. So you come back again and pick it by cash. And if you receive by transfer, you also have the liberty to make transfers via that. So that's to pushing that aspect. Most people do that now, and you'll know the reason. For example, someone was earning $3,000 in Nigerian naira then about 7 years ago. But as of today, the same value of the salary that it was earning then is now less than $1,000. So basically, if you save, well, let me not put it. So in lateral sense is that when you save in dollar, you gain more in this Nigerian economy of today. But the management of CBN, especially with the use of dollar, let me just say, they have not managed it well. Yes, they've tried to manage at a time, but this electionary period, it has been bastardized because the people that ought to get this money are not getting. And that was why we have varying rates at the export and exchange window, investor and exchange window at 416. Then at the parallel market, it's 618, 619, not even 605. It's challenging, and people are now making good money.
In fact, it's become a business for people.
Look at the last election area, the primaries. How were they able to get the dollar they gave out? The kind of dollar they were sharing. Businesses do not have
Businesses can't afford to import a lot of their
Let me just tell you, to be candid, please, before we round off on that, most government personnel today are saving their money and loot in dollar. And that's the reason why you are not having access to it. Most businesses are saving their money abroad. We can actually look into that. They will collect money from here, buy things abroad. By the time those people are to pay, maybe after they have sent their goods, they're supposed to repatriate this money, which CBN is fighting every day, but they will keep the money over there. So, and CBN at its own time is not encouraging this. They fight them, but the fiscal authority, they are not doing much. And that is the reason where the issue of nexus between those two sections, the fiscal and the monetary, should work together to make sure that things that goes out that needs to come in, comes in, and we have ample way of managing the ones that are in the country. With that, this economy will get back and we'll get moving.
Dr., can you weigh in on that with the issue of dollars, people saving their money in dollars, and money just going out of the country and the people who need it can't get access?
One of the determinants of a country's exchange rate value is the forces of demand and supply. The demand for the foreign currency and then the demand for and the supply of it. As we have seen now, there's what we call natural expectation in economics also. A case where people are expecting that this should go in this direction, which is otherwise called the sentiment. The sentiment of Nigerians these days now is about saving dollar, because you know that to a very large extent the money will remain stable. So imagine if I save $1,000 maybe about 5 years ago, maybe when they said it was about 300. So to the same $1,000, if I go there now to collect it, now that the exchange rate is over 600 naira, I'll be collecting over 600,000 naira. I have not added anything. I've not done any productive activity with it. I only kept $1,000 5 years ago. Now the same $1,000, which was 300,000 naira then. Now $1,000 is now worth $600,000. So for me, as a consumer or as a citizen, I've been encouraged to save more. So by saving more, it means I'm to save more in dollar. I am putting pressure on the demand for dollar, and that also means that the price we keep getting will keep worsening. That's why one of the measures that CBN has put in place is that if you put in cash in terms of dollar, you could get cash out also. But whichever way they look at it, for the depositors, it's still a win-win situation for them, because when they get it out in dollar, fine, dollar is not a legal tender in Nigeria here, but they will still go to Abuja and then exchange into a large sum of money, then take it back into account. So whichever way you look at it, the CBN or the Nigeria as an economy is losing. So CBN needs to come out.
Nigeria as an economy is losing. Sorry to have to cut you in there. We're running out of time. It's been a pleasure having you, Dotu Mabinori, financial analyst, and also Adiola Ogunbodede here on Rubbin Minds. Yes.